Emerson Hancock, obviously having to leave the game after 2 innings. What are your opinions on that today, Colty?
Yeah, I mean, it does suck to see. Obviously, Hancock's start to the year was a little delayed because of his like shoulder issues that he had. And that's something that you worried about with him, especially going into the major league season, where he's probably going to throw more innings than he ever has before when you combine this with his double A statistics. And unfortunately for us, obviously, we didn't know at first what had happened. We just saw he was out after 2 innings, which with a bullpen that has been taxed a little bit here and there recently, not something that you wanted to see. But
No.
in the end, it was fine for the Mariners, and Scott did a great job managing it, but it has a lot of implications on the rest of the season for the Seattle Mariners, including what was going to be a 6-man rotation for them when Brian Wu comes back. I think Wu can come back on Tuesday, so it's not like necessarily it matters in terms of you just that day you put, or maybe tomorrow you put Hancock on the IL, bring up another reliever because you probably need it,
Yeah.
and then send down a reliever on Tuesday when Brian Wu comes back, or before his next start, whenever it would be. So I think the 6-man rotation is just out of the question right now.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
I know. It was Hancock left after 2. He had what? Was it a lat strain?
Yeah, lat strain in his shoulder.
Yeah,
Yep.
so it's unfortunate because, I mean, he hadn't given up any runs yet. And then Taylor Saucedo comes in. And I don't dislike the move because obviously you have to do something where your starter has to come out. And it wasn't working for him. I don't know if I would have pulled him quicker because Saucedo just like didn't really have it. And then Thornton did okay in cleanup job, but after that is where the bullpen settled down and started cruising. And I'm very happy with each moment that a guy got put in pretty much. So I think Munoz going in the 8th makes sense. For 9-1-2, hopefully you don't let him get to Yordan, essentially, and then you bring in a lefty, Gabe Spire, in the 9th to face Yordan. And Gabe Spire, you called it, on the Hit of Your podcast earlier in the week, saying let Gabe Spire have some leverage because he's been lights out. He's been solid, the whole way through the year. Hats off to Scott for the deployment for the bullpen today, and I think he managed the series very, very well. I mean, you and I are not on that wagon of service hate.
I mean, credit to Taylor Saucedo. Obviously, he was not expecting to be coming in the 3rd inning. You know what I mean?
That's definitely exactly. That's also not a situation he's probably like, okay, here we go, let's get ramped up. It's definitely a situation that he's uncomfortable in. So I'm not gonna harp on Saucedo because he's been good the majority of the year as well. So I don't know.
Yeah,
moments like that are bound to happen for any bullpen arm.
Yeah, and I think, overall, you have to leave this series extremely hopeful for what's going to happen in Chicago. And going back a little bit to the Emerson Hancock thing, of course, that means Brian will probably set up for the 3rd game in that White Sox series, I would assume.
Yeah.
There were talks that they were going to be piggybacking each other, with like maybe Wu getting the start, Hancock covering some innings after. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not going to happen now. To be fair, we haven't heard any word on exactly how bad this lat strain is for Hancock. In his defense, it could just be nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going on the IL. It's just it could have been a precautionary removal, and he could be back and ready for his next start if he's feeling okay. It is not necessarily something guaranteed right now because we don't fully know that. I'm sure by this time tomorrow or, after the stream, we'll know more. That was from yesterday's live stream that we do every Sunday after the game. Make sure you guys are subscribed and turn on post notifications to be able to see one of those live and join the conversation with us there. I go on to say that I was uncertain about my feelings about a 6-man rotation going forward with Hancock potentially going on the IL or just maybe taking an extended leave of time here. Not really sure where that is at this point. It's 7 hours after the announcement that Emerson Hancock left the game with a right shoulder strain. No word has come out yet. So, if Hancock is out for 15 days and he's not back until middle of September, if they so choose to use him, that'll be great. But until that time, they're probably going to want to continue to piggyback Brian Wu, which was the original intention when Wu was going to set to return this coming week. The guy that makes the most sense is Adam Oller. He's on the 40-man roster. It's not perfect. It's not ideal. But if you're set on going with a 6-man like it feels like the Mariners were, he's your best bet to make the ease of access of this transaction just go smoothly, right? Because you have to add Tommy Malone to the 40-man. He's given you 2 pretty solid starts so far in the bigs, but Adam Oller, he would be my pick if there were to be one that would come up from the minor leagues. If they just choose the 5-man and just ride it out, I'm sure you'll see a bullpen arm come up from the minor leagues that could eat those innings and help Bryan Woo piggyback in a different way. Maybe not as heavy as Hancock or Aller would be, but they're not going to want Woo to work as deep as maybe he was earlier in the year. And with Woo coming back, there's more reinforcements coming to this Mariners team throughout the rest of this season. Colton's got a video on the screen detailing those and how they'll help the Mariners with the rest of this playoff push. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Make sure you guys go watch that one if you haven't, and go Mariners.